My name's Noah. I'm 32, and I've learned that sometimes the worst kind of judgment doesn't come from strangers, it comes from the people who share your blood. I hadn't planned on going to the family reunion this year. Honestly, I hadn't gone in the past 5. Not because I was too busy or didn't care, but because I knew exactly what would be waiting for me: those fake smiles, those veiled comments, the heavy silence after every "So what do you do now?" I stayed away to preserve my peace. But this year, something made me say yes. Maybe I was tired of hiding. Maybe I just wanted to see if anything had changed, or maybe, I don't know, I wanted to prove something to myself. The invitation came in the mail with a glossy photo of a lakeside resort printed on the front. Summer Bash 2025, hosted by the Townsends and family. It screamed in cursive letters. I was shocked they were putting this much effort in. Usually, it was a backyard barbecue at Aunt Camille's house with folding chairs and overcooked hot dogs. But this year, they'd clearly decided to upgrade. I flipped the card over and scanned the fine print. All costs covered, food provided, dress casual, bring your own drinks. I called my mom to confirm. "Hey, I got the invite. Just wanted to check if it's legit or if someone's pulling a prank." She sighed on the other end, that tired, familiar sigh that always made me brace myself. "It's legit, Noah. Your cousin Lily and her fiancé are helping organize. They want to do something classier, I guess." I raised an eyebrow. Lily, the same one who threw a tantrum at Christmas because she didn't get an engagement ring with a big enough stone. "She's grown up a little," Mom said, though her tone didn't exactly scream confidence. "Just come. Everyone's asking about you." I almost laughed. That was rich. The only thing anyone in our family asked about me was whether I'd finally gotten a real job. Still, I agreed. I booked a flight, rented a decent car, even picked up a new polo shirt so no one could say I looked too casual. I didn't want to give them anything to latch onto this time. The truth was, things had changed for me, but not in a way they'd understand. I'd been living in a modest apartment in a not-so-great part of town while bootstrapping my own tech consultancy. Not the kind of thing that earns applause at family gatherings unless it has a shiny corporate title to go with it. I had a few good clients now. Money was starting to come in, but I kept things quiet, low profile. I knew better than to share too much with people who measured success by the number of cars in your garage or how expensive your watch was. The reunion was set for the last weekend of July, and the resort was about an hour's drive from the airport. I arrived a bit early by design. I wanted to get the lay of the land before everyone else showed up. The place was beautiful, I'll admit. Big open lawns, a gazebo by the lake, long white tents with fairy lights strung across the top. I saw the event coordinator walking the grounds with a clipboard and introduced myself. "You must be Mr. Townsend," she said, checking her notes. "Noah, just Noah. I'm helping cover the event." I said casually, her eyes lit up. "Ah, yes, you're the one who finalized the contract last week. Thank you so much. This whole thing would have been impossible without your help." I nodded, waved her off, and kept walking. I didn't need the credit. I hadn't even told anyone I was paying for it. The family had talked big about hosting something grand, but when it came time to put money down, everyone got real quiet. I'd overheard my mom on the phone with Aunt Camille a few weeks back, saying they might have to cancel if someone didn't step up. So I did anonymously. I figured if nothing else, it would keep them from complaining for a weekend. The guests started arriving in waves around noon. I watched from a bench near the gazebo, sipping lemonade and pretending to scroll through my phone. First came my cousin Liam, the one who made 6 figures in finance and never let anyone forget it. He stepped out of his black Escalade like he was stepping onto a red carpet. Then Aunt Camille and Uncle Jerry, loud as ever, dragging 2 coolers behind them. When my mom arrived, she walked straight past me without a word. I think she thought if she didn't acknowledge me, she wouldn't have to answer questions. Typical. Finally, someone noticed me. "Oh, look." Aunt Camille called out loud enough for heads to turn. He showed up. Must be out of money again. I froze. Forced a tight smile. Liam smirked and chimed in. "Heard you're still living in that crappy apartment with the broken heater. Rough." My mom finally looked at me, wine glass in hand, and said with a shrug, "If you tried harder, maybe you'd have something to brag about too." It felt like a punch to the gut, even though I knew it was coming. I thought maybe, just maybe, they'd ease up this time, but no, same script, same digs. I bit the inside of my cheek and stood up. "I'm going to walk around," I said quietly, slipping away before anyone could get another word in. The sun was hot, the air thick with the smell of grilled chicken and overly sweet coleslaw. Kids ran around screaming, the sound of laughter clashing with the storm brewing in my chest. I walked to the edge of the lake, stared out at the water, and tried to breathe. I reminded myself why I came, not for them, not for approval, just to be here to see it through and leave with my head high, but their words stuck echoed. I thought of every night I'd stayed up working, of every bill I'd paid late to keep my company alive. I thought of how I'd bailed out my mom last year when her credit card debt spiraled, and she begged me not to tell anyone. I thought of the emails, the missed holidays, the burnout, and how none of it seemed to matter to them. Around 3:00 p.m., the food was served. Everyone lined up at the buffet tables, laughing, joking, piling their plates. I saw Camille grab 2 slices of pie, one for now and one for later. I saw Liam bragging about his new watch. I saw my mom sipping her second glass of wine, smiling like she belonged in a magazine ad for happy families. I walked back toward the tent, slow and steady. Something in me had shifted. I wasn't angry. I was clear. The event coordinator spotted me near the edge of the crowd. She smiled, everything going well. I nodded, then leaned in. "Hey, could you do me a favor?" I said. "Go ahead and cancel the payment. The card on file, it's mine. I'd like to pull it. Let them know they'll be covering it themselves now." She blinked, confused. "You're sure the full amount's still unpaid?" I smiled. "Completely sure." She hesitated for just a moment, then nodded slowly. "Understood. I'll speak with the front desk. Should I let them know immediately?" I glanced back toward the tables. Plates clinked, drinks flowed, and conversations rose to a humming crescendo of entitled laughter and self-congratulation. Nobody even noticed me. Nobody ever really did until they needed something. "No rush," I said. "Let them finish their food." I walked away from the coordinator and took a seat on the far side of the tent, behind a row of potted palms where I could still see everything without being in the middle of it. The heat had softened and a lazy breeze drifted through the canopy. From where I sat, I watched as they clinked glasses and refilled their plates like royalty at a banquet. Lily stood to make a toast, wine glass held high. "To family," she said, "and to pulling off the fanciest tounce. And reunion yet. We're leveling up, people." Everyone cheered. My mom raised her glass and gave a little whoop. Liam tossed back his drink and immediately reached for another. I checked the time. It had been about 20 minutes. Right on cue, I saw the event coordinator return, flanked by 2 resort staff. One of them had a clipboard, the other a folded invoice in hand. They made a beeline for my mom, who was too busy laughing at something my cousin had said to notice. I saw the moment the clipboard was set in front of her. The smile froze on her face. She blinked, then turned toward the coordinator with a look of confusion. Camille leaned in to listen. So did Liam. Voices dropped, heads turned, then I heard it, my mom's voice rising over the crowd. "I'm sorry. What do you mean it wasn't paid?" The coordinator, ever professional, spoke calmly but firmly. "The card that was reserving the space was removed from the system this afternoon. Unfortunately, that means the remaining balance for the event catering, tent rental, staffing needs to be settled before we continue." My aunt's face turned pink. Wait, hold on. You mean someone was covering this?" She turned to my mom. "You said it was all taken care of. Liam was already on his phone, pulling up his banking app. You've got to be kidding. I didn't bring my wallet. I thought this was a done deal." My mom stammered. It was taken care of. I thought it was. Who was paying for it?" They looked around. That's when I stood up and casually walked over, hands in my pockets. Not rushing, just strolling. The moment I emerged from behind the palms, all conversation stopped. Even the kids quieted down. I could feel every pair of eyes on me, confused, cautious, calculating. I stopped in front of the table where my mom, Camille, Liam, and a few others sat. I tilted my head and smiled. "What's going on?" Camille was the first to speak. "Apparently, someone pulled the payment on the whole event." I shrugged. "Oh yeah, that was me." My mom blinked hard. But you were the one who paid for the deposit, the tent, the food, the music." "Yeah, I fronted everything," I said simply, like I was talking about buying groceries. Didn't feel like making a big deal out of it. Camille gawked. "Then why? Why cancel it now?" I leaned forward slightly, keeping my voice low. Calm, because I wanted to see how far the disrespect would go before someone said something kind. I looked at my mom. Turns out it goes all the way to laughing at where I live and suggesting I have nothing to be proud of. Liam stepped forward, trying to recover the tone. "Look, it was just some family banter. No one meant anything serious by it." I turned to him. Funny thing about banter, it usually only feels like a joke when it's not always aimed in one direction. No one said anything for a few seconds. Then Camille crossed her arms. "You're punishing everyone for a couple of comments. Real mature." I gave her a slow nod. Sure, that's one way to see it. Another is that I gave you exactly what you think I'm worth nothing. And my mom looked stunned. Her mouth opened but no words came. Then she glanced at the event staff, still standing patiently by the table waiting, her face flushed with panic. So, what happens now? The coordinator answered. We'll need a card on file or payment in full to continue food service and keep the event space. I turned to go, but paused and looked back. Good luck figuring it out. Oh, and don't worry, I didn't cancel the ice cream truck. You'll still get dessert. I walked away, feeling more weightless with each step. I made it back to my rental car and sat inside for a moment, just breathing. I didn't leave right away. I wanted to see what they would do next, how quickly the joy would drain once the bill came due. I sat behind the wheel for a moment, the door still open, one foot on the gravel. I could hear the music dip into an awkward silence behind me like someone had yanked the plug on a party just as it hit its peak. I didn't drive off yet. I tilted the rearview mirror so I could watch them. I needed to. After years of swallowing their smug superiority and those carefully wrapped insults, I needed to see what happened when the foundation cracked under them. They scattered at first, some going to their cars, some standing around aimlessly, looking for someone to blame. The energy shifted so fast, it almost gave me whiplash. Aunt Camille was arguing with the coordinator now, gesturing dramatically with her wine glass while trying to keep it from spilling. My cousin Lily had her phone out, pacing clearly trying to call her fiancé, probably hoping he could Venmo her a few hundred to save face. Liam stood apart from them, arms crossed, tapping his foot like the resort owed him an apology, but it was my mom's face I kept coming back to. She wasn't angry, not yet. She just looked confused. Like the script she had followed for so long had suddenly gone missing. Her shoulders were tense, her mouth slightly open as if she was stuck between trying to explain and trying to remember what exactly needed explaining. She wasn't used to being caught off guard. That role had always been reserved for me. I leaned back in my seat, the leather warming under the sun, and thought back to everything that led to this, the missed birthdays, the snide remarks at every dinner, the time she told me I should be more like Liam. He's just so focused, Noah. He always lands on his feet. The way she dismissed every small win of mine like it was a fluke or a phase. Even when I'd helped her with her debt, she made sure I understood it was a favor, not a recognition of success. Just a son doing what was expected. I'd accepted it for years. I think part of me believed maybe I was the underachiever they saw, but I wasn't anymore, and maybe I never had been. I heard a loud, frustrated shout from behind me and glanced in the mirror again. Camille had just dropped her plate. It shattered near the buffet table, chicken and roasted potatoes splattering across the grass. The noise made everyone pause. Then someone, maybe Uncle Jerry, snapped. How are we supposed to pay for all this? I thought it was handled. More murmurs, accusations, voices rising in volume, not clarity. And then, finally, someone said it. Wait, are we seriously saying Noah was covering this whole thing? I couldn't see who said it, but the disbelief in their voice hit like a slap. Not angry, just stunned. Like the thought alone was so foreign, it took a full second to process, and then came the wave of reactions. A few looked around sheepishly, one or two others laughed nervously, hoping it was a joke. My mom just stared at the ground. Why would he pay? Camille snapped. He barely even comes to these things. Maybe because he's the only one who actually has money. Someone else muttered. I couldn't tell who. The crowd was beginning to fray, cliques forming, the usual unity of a family gathering splitting into small, tense knots. That's when Lily turned to my mom and said, not even quietly, "Did you know he was paying?" My mom hesitated. That hesitation told the whole story. I didn't know, she said finally, not for sure. Liam stepped forward, his tone suddenly colder. But you suspected, right? He just showed up, quiet as ever, and everything's taken care of, and you didn't ask. I didn't think, exactly. I whispered, watching from the car, none of you ever think. And then almost poetically, the music shut off entirely. The Bluetooth speaker battery must have died. Now, all you could hear was the wind through the trees and the sounds of my family arguing about whose fault it was, who should pay, who always mooches, and who acts like they're better than everyone. It wasn't just about me anymore. Years of resentment, bitterness, and secrets were spilling into the open like an overfilled glass finally knocked off the table. Then came the announcement. The coordinator stood near the buffet with a small mic, her voice cutting clearly across the lawn. Apologies, everyone, but until payment is resolved, we'll need to pause food and beverage service. We appreciate your cooperation. Gasps. Outrage? The buffet tables were still half full, but the resort staff moved in and began covering trays and removing serving utensils like it was the end of a wedding no one wanted to leave, and still no one came to me. That was what surprised me most. Not Camille, not Liam, not even my mom. They didn't come running with apologies or excuses. They didn't try to plead with me or ask me to fix it. Maybe it was pride, maybe it was shock. Maybe they still didn't believe I'd actually go through with it, but I stayed in that car, watching the drama unfold like a show I'd seen before. Except this time, I wasn't cast as the quiet background character. I was the twist no one saw coming. That's when my phone buzzed. A message from Lily. Was it really you? Please tell me you didn't cancel the payment. This is a disaster. I stared at the screen for a long moment, then typed a single word back, yes, and hit send. 5 minutes passed, then 10, more arguing. I could see Camille on the phone, trying to call someone. Her husband, maybe someone to wire money. My mom sat on a lawn chair, arms folded, looking like a balloon with all the air let out. For the first time in my life, she looked small. Then finally, someone broke from the chaos and walked straight toward me. It wasn't who I expected, and it definitely wasn't to apologize. It was Liam. Out of all the people who could have come over, he was the last I expected. He walked with that same overly confident strut he'd had since high school, but this time it was slower, more measured. He was trying to keep up the act, but the cracks were visible. I watched him approach in the rearview mirror, debating whether to step out or let him talk through the window like some panicked solicitor. I rolled down the window before he had to knock. "What's up, Liam?" He leaned on the car door, arms crossed. "You really pulled the plug on the whole thing." "Yep," I said, calm and even. He squinted, trying to read my expression. "Look, I get it. You're mad. You wanted to make a point. Fine, point made. But people are upset. They're looking to me to fix this. Camille doesn't have the funds on hand. Mom's card just got declined. This thing is about to blow up into a full meltdown." I nodded slowly, and he looked stunned. "And I'm asking you to fix it." I didn't say anything right away. I just looked out at the chaos behind him. Aunt Camille yelling into her phone, Lily pacing and snapping at a staff member, the kids sitting confused near the now empty dessert table, asking when the cupcakes were coming. Then I looked back at Liam. "You want me to fix it?" After what everyone said. He exhaled through his nose, visibly trying not to get snappy. "Come on, Noah. You know how this family is. People talk. You can't take every little thing so personally." I stared at him, deadpan. "You called my apartment a dump. My mom said I have nothing to be proud of. Camille openly mocked me. You all treated me like a parasite. And you want me to fund your party so you can keep laughing at me between courses." He shifted uncomfortably. "Okay, that was out of line, but let's be real. You've always kind of made it easy." I blinked. "Excuse me, you disappear for years. No updates, no job title anyone can understand. You show up looking like you just got off a bus." I drove a rental. I said sharply. He waved that off. "Fine, but you acted like a guest, not someone footing the bill. It's like you wanted to be treated like a martyr." That's when I stepped out of the car. I stood face to face with him. Not raising my voice, just letting my words cut clear. "I didn't disappear. I was building something you all mocked because it didn't fit your narrow definition of success. I've been busting my ass for years trying to get a business off the ground, while covering Mom's debt and paying for things no one else even knew about." He looked taken aback. "What debt? Don't worry about it." I said, "It's covered now, but I'm done covering for everyone, financially and emotionally." Liam looked away, finally out of comebacks. I could see it on his face, the realization that they'd misread me for years. All of them. I stepped past him and walked toward the tent. Heads turned, conversation stopped. I stood near the buffet tables and raised my voice just enough to command the space. "I know most of you didn't realize this, but I covered the cost of this event. The deposit, the food, the rentals, everything. I did it quietly because I thought maybe if I just showed up, things would be different. Maybe if I contributed without needing recognition, I'd finally be seen as part of family again, but all I got was the same condescension and judgment. So yes, I canceled the payment. Not out of spite, but out of self-respect, and I'm not fixing it." There was silence. For a long beat, no one said a word. Then my mom stood up slowly, her expression unreadable. "Noah," she said, "why didn't you just tell us?" "Because you wouldn't have believed me." I replied simply, "You never have." She took a step forward. "I didn't know you were struggling. I thought you didn't want to be part of things anymore." I laughed bitterly. You thought I didn't want to be part of things. I used to call you just to chat. You'd rush me off the phone. At holidays, I'd get a stocking with socks while Liam got designer watches. I was always the afterthought. Eventually, I stopped showing up because it hurt too much to pretend I was welcome. Her eyes began to well up, but I didn't stop. I worked from a tiny apartment with a broken heater to build something on my own, and I did. I have clients now. I have freedom. I have peace, and none of you know that, because you never bothered to ask. Lily piped up from the side. You should have said something. I did, just not loud enough for any of you to hear. That landed harder than I expected. There was a long, pregnant pause. Then Aunt Camille scoffed. So what? We're all supposed to apologize now. I looked her dead in the eye. No, you don't have to, but I'm not funding this show anymore, and if that makes me the villain of the day, so be it. I turned to go. That's when my mom's voice cracked across the tent again. No, wait. I stopped. She walked toward me slowly, almost cautiously. She looked so much smaller than I remembered. Maybe because I wasn't the same either. I'm sorry, she said. I didn't realize how much I hurt you. I thought I was being hard on you because I wanted you to succeed. I didn't see that you already had. That hit harder than anything she could have yelled. I nodded. Thank you for saying that. She reached for my hand. Can you stay, even if you're not paying for it? I want you here. I hesitated, looked around at the still awkward crowd. Some averted their eyes. Others watched me, unsure what to say. I'll stay for the dessert. I said lightly. I did promise the ice cream truck. A few chuckles broke the tension. It was the first time all day anyone laughed with me. The coordinator returned shortly after, informing everyone that unless payment was provided, the event would be winding down. Aunt Camille grumbled, pulled out her phone, and began making urgent calls. Meanwhile, I sat with the kids, helping them build towers out of melting popsicle sticks. For once, I wasn't background noise. I wasn't the failure. I was just Noah. Later, when the sun dipped low and the guests began to pack up early, I stood near the gravel drive, hands in my pockets, watching the taillights disappear one by one. My mom came up beside me. You know. She said quietly, we could use someone like you to help plan the next reunion if you'd want to. I smiled. Not bitterly this time, just warm, maybe as long as I'm not footing the bill. She laughed. Deal. And with that, I climbed into my car and drove away, not out of spite, not in defeat, but finally, in peace. They had tried to reduce me to a punchline, but I rewrote the story, and this time I was the one holding the pen.